In a small town nestled between rolling hills, Clara had always been the quiet observer. With a passion for fitness, she decided to join a local martial arts gym, hoping to build confidence and learn self-defense. As she walked through the gym doors for the first time, the sounds of sparring echoed around her, and the energy was palpable. Chapter 2. The challenge as weeks went by. Clara trained diligently, immersing herself in the art of martial arts. She found solace in the rhythm of punches and kicks, slowly gaining strength and skill. However, her presence didn't go unnoticed. One day, during a sparring session, she caught the attention of Jake, a skilled black belt known for his prowess and competitive spirit. Jake, confident and cocky, approached Clara after watching her practice. "You're pretty good for a beginner," he said with a smirk. "Think you can handle a real challenge? Let's fight." The gym fell silent, all eyes on Clara, anticipation hanging in the air. Chapter 3. The pressure Clara felt a rush of emotions, fear, excitement, and doubt. She had grown fond of the gym and her fellow practitioners, but the thought of fighting someone with Jake's experience was intimidating. "I'm not sure I'm ready," she replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Come on, it'll be fun," Jake insisted, the challenge sparking laughter among the other gym members. Clara felt the pressure mounting, but she also sensed an opportunity to prove herself, not just to Jake, but to herself. Chapter 4. The Decision. After a moment of contemplation, Clara took a deep breath. "All right, let's do it," she said, surprising herself with her determination. The gym erupted with murmurs of disbelief and excitement. As they cleared a space for the match, Clara's heart raced. She knew she had to focus, channeling her nerves into energy. Chapter 5. The Match. As the match began, Jake charged at Clara, confident in his skills. But instead of panicking, Clara remembered her training. She sidestepped, using her newfound agility to evade his first attack. The crowd watched in awe as she demonstrated surprising speed and reflexes. Jake, momentarily taken aback, regrouped and attempted to land a punch. Clara deflected it, her heart pounding with adrenaline. She began to find her rhythm, responding with calculated movements that showcased her training and determination. Chapter 6. Rising to the challenge. With every move, Clara felt her confidence grow. She used her footwork to keep Jake at bay, surprising him with her resilience. The gym was silent, the atmosphere charged with tension and admiration. Clara's determination began to shine through, and she felt a sense of empowerment she had never experienced before. As they exchanged blows, Clara executed a well-timed kick that caught Jake off guard, sending him stumbling back. The crowd erupted into cheers, astonished by her skill and tenacity. Chapter 7. The Turning Point. Jake, realizing he underestimated Clara, shifted his approach. He became more aggressive, trying to regain control. But Clara had found her footing. She remembered the techniques she had practiced and adapted her strategy. With a swift combination of punches and a final kick, Clara managed to land a decisive blow that sent Jake to the mat. Chapter 8. The Aftermath. The gym erupted in applause, cheers echoing off the walls. Clara stood breathless and exhilarated as Jake picked himself up, a look of respect on his face. "You're not just a beginner," he admitted, extending his hand. "You really held your own out there." As Clara shook his hand, the realization washed over her. She had faced her fears and triumphed. The experience had silenced not only Jake, but also her own self-doubt. Chapter 9. A newfound respect. From that day forward, Clara was no longer just a simple woman in the gym. She had earned respect from her peers and, most importantly, from herself. She continued to train, pushing her limits and inspiring others to do the same. The gym became a place of empowerment, where everyone, regardless of their skill level, could learn and grow. Conclusion. Embracing Strength Clara's journey was more than just about martial arts. It was about self-discovery and resilience. She learned that true strength comes from within, and that anyone can rise to the challenge, no matter how intimidating it may seem. With each training session, she embraced her newfound confidence, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the small town of Maplewood, Clara had always been known as the quiet, unassuming woman who preferred the company of books to that of people. But after years of feeling overlooked and underestimated, she finally decided it was time to change. Inspired by a desire for empowerment, she stepped into a local martial arts gym, ready to challenge herself and build confidence. As she walked through the gym doors, the sounds of fists hitting pads and the shouts of instructors filled the air. The energy was electric, a stark contrast to her usual quiet life. Clara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation, but she was determined to embrace this new chapter. Chapter 2. The Challenge. In her first weeks of training, Clara immersed herself in every class, learning the basics of martial arts. She practiced diligently, absorbing techniques and strategies like a sponge. However, it wasn't long before she caught the attention of Jake, a black belt known for his talent and competitive nature. With a reputation for being cocky, Jake often challenged those around him to prove their skills. One day, after watching Clara spar with a fellow beginner, Jake approached her with a smirk. "You're decent for a newbie, but how about a real challenge? Let's see what you've got in a fight." The gym fell silent, all eyes on Clara, the pressure mounting as she felt the weight of their expectations. Chapter 3. The pressure Clara's heart raced at the thought of facing off against Jake. He was a formidable opponent, and the idea of fighting him made her stomach churn. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that," she said, trying to sound confident while battling her self-doubt. "Come on, it'll be fun," Jake insisted, shrugging off her hesitance. Laughter erupted from the surrounding crowd, and Clara felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Despite her reservations, she knew this was her chance to step out of her comfort zone. She took a deep breath and nodded. "All right, let's do it." Chapter 4. The Decision. As the gym cleared a space for their match, Clara felt both fear and determination surge within her. She reminded herself of all the hours she had put into training, the sweat and perseverance that had brought her this far. This was more than just a fight. It was a chance to show herself, and everyone else, what she was capable of. Jake cracked his knuckles, confident and ready to prove his superiority. Clara focused on her breathing, centering herself. She had to trust her training and instincts. Chapter 5. The match began, and Jake immediately charged at Clara with a fierce attack. Instead of freezing, Clara sidestepped his first blow, her reflexes kicking in. The crowd gasped, surprised by her agility. She quickly learned to read his movements, adapting to his aggressive style. As they exchanged blows, Clara felt the adrenaline rushing through her veins. She began to find her rhythm, slipping past Jake's punches and responding with swift kicks and jabs. The atmosphere in the gym shifted from skepticism to awe as Clara began to show her strength. Chapter 6. Rising to the challenge with every move, Clara felt her confidence grow. She remembered her instructor's advice: stay light on your feet, and don't let fear dictate your actions. With that mantra in mind, she moved gracefully, evading Jake's attacks and countering with newfound ferocity. As Jake attempted a roundhouse kick, Clara ducked and retaliated with a precise strike to his midsection. The impact sent him stumbling back, and the gym erupted in cheers. Clara couldn't believe it. She was holding her own against a black belt. Chapter 7. The turning point. Realizing he underestimated her, Jake shifted his tactics, becoming more aggressive. Clara felt a moment of doubt creep in, but she quickly pushed it aside. She recalled the countless hours spent training, the supportive words from her instructors, and the belief she had in herself. With renewed determination, Clara adapted her strategy. She focused on her footwork, using her agility to her advantage. As Jake lunged forward, she executed a perfectly timed sidekick that sent him crashing to the mat. The gym fell silent for a heartbeat before erupting into applause and cheers. Chapter 8. The aftermath. Jake, visibly shocked and impressed, got up and extended his hand to Clara. "You've got some serious skills," he admitted, a newfound respect in his voice. Clara smiled, feeling a rush of pride. She had proven herself not just to Jake, but to everyone watching, including herself. "Thanks," she replied, her heart racing with exhilaration. The atmosphere in the gym had transformed. Clara was no longer just a quiet newcomer, but a respected fighter. Chapter 9. A newfound respect. As the weeks passed, Clara continued to train hard, and her confidence soared. The other gym members, inspired by her performance, began to approach her for advice and sparring sessions. Clara became a mentor, helping others find their strength and encouraging them to face their own challenges. Jake, who had initially been her rival, became a close ally. They trained together, pushing each other to improve. Their friendship blossomed, built on mutual respect and admiration for each other's skills. Chapter 10. Embracing community. The gym became a second home for Clara. She found herself surrounded by a supportive community that celebrated each other's victories, big and small. Together they hosted events and tournaments, fostering a spirit of camaraderie and growth. Clara's journey inspired many, and she often found herself sets. This is another excellent title for a story about hidden strength. Here is a story based on your prompt, The Dust-Up at the Dojo, the Iron Fist. Dojo reeked of sweat, old leather, and liniment. It was a serious place, but today the atmosphere was light, until Jax, the Hammer, Riley walked in. Jax was a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo, all corded muscle and arrogant swagger, known for his relentless, bruising style. Jax was demonstrating a complex takedown to a group of white belts when he noticed the woman sitting quietly on a bench by the wall. Clara, the gym's cleaning lady. She was a woman of unremarkable build, dressed in simple, worn work clothes with a pair of faded gardening gloves tucked into her pocket. She spent her days meticulously sweeping the mats and cleaning the punching bags. Jack stopped mid-sentence. "Hey, ma'am," he called out, his voice dripping with condescension. "You might want to step out. We're drilling now. Don't want you to trip over a stray foot." Clara looked up, her expression unreadable. "I'm fine right here, Mr. Riley," she replied softly. Jack scoffed. "Look, I know you think what we do is just fancy dancing, but this is serious. You wouldn't last 5 seconds in here. The only thing you're fighting is dust bunnies." One of the younger, sycophantic students chuckled nervously. Clara simply returned to tying her shoelaces. "I respect what you do, Mr. Riley. It takes discipline." This lack of reaction infuriated Jax. He saw it as blatant disrespect. He walked over to her, his shadow falling over her small frame. "Respect? You want to know what respect is, cleaner?" Jax drew himself up, the black belt sash around his waist a neon sign of his status. "Respect is earned. I bet you've never earned a thing in your life outside minimum wage." He then delivered the challenge that silenced the entire gym. "I'll tell you what. Get on the mat. Right now. Just for 30 seconds. I'll fight you using only one hand. If you can land a single clean strike, I'll pay your salary for a year. If I tag you once, you clean my apartment for a month. Deal?" The unveiling. The white belts gasped. The assistant instructor, a polite man named Mike, stepped forward. "Jax, that's out of line! Stay out of this, Mike!" Jax barked. Clara slowly rose. The air in the gym changed. The easy camaraderie vanished, replaced by a dense, palpable tension. She quietly put her gardening gloves away and walked on to the center mat. 30 seconds, Clara said, her voice still quiet, but now possessing a subtle iron edge. Jax smirked. He adopted a relaxed, lazy stance, his right hand hooked casually behind his back. "Whenever you're ready, Clara," he drawled, ready to make a fool of her. Clara didn't move. She simply adjusted her feet, adopting a stance that was so low, so fluid, and so utterly unlike anything taught at the Iron Fist dojo, it drew the immediate, absolute attention of every fighter present. It was a stance of terrifying economy, a coiled spring ready to explode. Jax waited a beat, then lunged forward, a quick, contemptuous left jab aimed at her shoulder. A simple tag. What followed wasn't a fight. It was an execution in motion. The silent submission Clara didn't dodge. She vanished. She rotated her body away from the blow with a fraction of an inch to spare. As Jax's momentum carried him past, Clara moved with the blinding speed of a striking viper. Her motion wasn't a wild attack. It was a single, devastatingly precise counter. She didn't punch. She didn't kick. Her open left hand shot out like a whip, catching Jax's outstretched forearm. With a tiny, almost imperceptible twist of her wrist and a simultaneous shift of her weight, she applied an exquisite joint lock. The pain was immediate, focused, and paralyzing. Jax, the black belt champion, felt every fiber of his being scream as his elbow hyperextended. He didn't even have time to yell. The loud, arrogant black belt collapsed to the mat, hitting the floor with a painful thump, unable to move, trapped. He lay there in a state of silent, wide-eyed terror and shock. Clara stood over him, her chest barely rising, her breathing perfectly calm. She had defeated him in less than a second, without a punch, without a kick, and without raising her voice. She released the lock. Jax gasped and rolled over, cradling his throbbing arm, his face pale with pain and utter humiliation. Clara simply stepped off the mat. She picked up her gardening gloves, tucked them back into her pocket, and looked at the assistant instructor. "Mike, Mike," she said, her voice now back to its gentle tone. "Could you remind Mr. Riley that the floor in the main office needs to be waxed by tonight? I have a shift change soon." She then walked out of the gym, leaving behind a profound, astonished silence. The students stared, not at Jax, but at the empty space where the simple woman had stood. It was Mike who finally broke the silence, his voice awed. "That wasn't Taekwondo, Jax. That was Aikido. A master-level lethal throw. She didn't even try to hurt you. She disarmed you." He shook his head, looking down at the defeated black belt. "Her name isn't Clara, Jax. It's Aki Yamamoto. She used to run the largest, most famous dojo in Kyoto. The legend is she retired here to America to live a quiet life after her husband passed. They say she taught the Special Forces groups in Japan." Mike's voice dropped to a reverent whisper. "You didn't challenge a cleaning lady, Jax. You challenged the sensei. The whole gym, including the now silent and humbled black belt, was finally, truly in awe." The Oakwood Public Library was a sanctuary of hushed whispers and the scent of aging paper. Its custodian was Mrs. Eleanor Vance, a woman in her late 70s who wore thick, wire-rimmed glasses and favored cardigans patterned with subtle embroidery. Her hands were spotted with age, and she moved with the slow, deliberate care of someone burdened by time. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, while Mrs. Vance was meticulously shelving a volume of European history, the quiet calm was shattered by the arrival of two men. They weren't readers. The first Mikhail was a bulky man in an ill-fitting suit. The second, smaller and colder, was known only by his reputation as the Cleaner, a professional assassin with an unnerving ability to remain undetected. They had cornered a panicked young man near the reference section, their movements brutal and practiced. "The money, Victor," Mikhail growled, shoving Victor against a towering shelf. "It's been long enough," Victor stammered. I don't have it. "Give me a week, please." The cleaner stepped forward, his eyes flat and lifeless. He reached into his jacket pocket, clearly going for a silenced weapon. The situation had just escalated from a shakedown to a murder. Suddenly, a voice, softer than a turned page, cut through the tension. "Gentlemen," Mrs. Vance said, walking calmly toward them, her focus entirely on the book she was holding. "I must ask you to conduct your business outside." "This is the quiet section," Mikhail laughed, a deep, contemptuous sound. "Move it, Grandma. This doesn't concern you." The cleaner, however, remained motionless, his gaze fixed on Mrs. Vance. The code word misses. Vance didn't look at their faces. Her eyes were fixed on the heavy silver ring the cleaner wore on his right index finger, a distinct, ornate piece of jewelry. She took one last look at her book, placed a bookmark carefully between the pages, and then set it down on a nearby table. As she did so, she spoke two words in a flawless, chillingly calm Russian. Diva Orla. The air immediately froze. Mikhail was confused, but the cleaner's expression shattered. His blank, cold eyes flashed with a potent mixture of recognition and utter horror. He slowly pulled his hand from his jacket, empty. Diva Orla, two eagles, was not just Russian. It was the personal code word of a defunct, highly exclusive division of the Soviet-era KGB, a division specializing in deep-cover operatives and counter-assassination. It was a code known only to a handful of people still alive, and to the one person who ran the training program, the cleaner, who had killed without remorse in a dozen countries, suddenly looked like the panicked victor. The silence of the shelf. The cleaner slowly, stiffly, brought his hands up and placed them flat against the nearest shelf of books, adopting a pose of absolute silent submission. He didn't speak. He just waited. Mikhail was enraged. "What in the hell are you doing, you moron?" "Finish him!" Mrs. Vance turned to Mikhail, her gaze sweeping over him with an intensity that made the bulky man feel suddenly fragile. She didn't raise her voice, but the sound that came out was that of a commander giving a final order. "I said," she stated, emphasizing the words with slow, precise movement of her hands, "take your matter outside." She then looked pointedly at the cleaner. The cleaner understood the look perfectly. It wasn't a request. It was a non-negotiable instruction. He was being ordered to protect her quiet library. The cleaner grabbed the baffled Mikhail by the collar, dragging the bigger man backward. He didn't speak a word of explanation. He simply hauled him like a sack of cement out the door and into the pouring rain. He left the young man, Victor, untouched and alive. Mrs. Vance watched them go, her expression softening only when the door clicked shut. She sighed, picked up her book, and smoothly resumed shelving the volumes. Victor, trembling but safe, whispered, Who are you?" Mrs. Vance placed the final book perfectly in line. She turned, gave him a small, kind smile, and tapped the title of the book she had just shelved. "It was a history of modern espionage. Just a librarian, dear," she said. "Now, if you're quite finished disrupting the quiet section, perhaps you should go. And Victor," she added, her voice dropping, "stop using the library computer to research your bookie. It shows up in the search history. Research your bookie. It shows up in the search history."